Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my channel. Now, last time I reviewed Super Mario World, a game that I played a lot in my youth. Now, I remember several years later asking for Yoshi's Island for Christmas and getting it from my grandmother. And sitting down and kind of being disappointed with this game. I don't know what it is about Yoshi's Island. It's not a bad game, and from what I remember of the sequel, which I'm going to play through again for the first time in 10 years in a short bit, they're not terrible games, but they're just not up to the same quality or standard as I think the original Super Mario Brothers series is, and it's hard for me to put a finger on. But after playing this one again after 3 or 4 years of not playing it, I think I put my finger on why Yoshi's Island just doesn't have the same appeal to me as the original Super Mario Brothers, and despite having the title Super Mario World 2, it has very little to do with its predecessor. Yoshi's Island is linear. Super Mario World allowed you to choose your own path. Yoshi's Island has only 6 stages, while Mario World and most Mario games have 8. But Yoshi's Island stages are huge, and I think that's part of the problem. Let's get into this in detail, and I'll tell you all about my gripes and my praises for Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. The story in Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island follows the same narrative path as most Mario games, meaning the narrative and exposition aren't important. Outside of a small scene before the beginning of the game, you don't get any exposition, but the basic story goes like this. The stork is carrying baby Mario and baby Luigi to their parents. Yeah, Nintendo puts phallic symbols all over Super Mario World, has a suit of a raccoon with large testicles in Super Mario Bros. 3, but they ain't touching the birds and the bees, I guess, when it comes to this kind of stuff. So we got the stork. Anyways, Kamek the Magic Koopa, sensing that Mario and Luigi will be a trouble to the Koopa tribe when they grow up, decides to kidnap them and put an end to this problem before it even begins. He manages to grab Luigi, but he misses Mario, who falls onto Yoshi's Island and is rescued by Yoshi. Yoshi, sensing that there's something wrong, decides to go out and rescue baby Luigi, having baby Mario guide him, I guess. Overall, like I said, there's no exposition. All you get is a little scene of Yoshi blowing up a castle at the end of each stage. If there is one thing you learn about the Yoshis in this game, though, is why they always have the munchies. Touch Fuzzy, get dizzy, my behind. It's more like touch Fuzzy, get stoned off your ass. Yoshi's a stoner, and we now know it. He's got a fuzzy addiction. What can I say about this game's graphics other than they're really, really gorgeous for a 16-bit game? In fact, the game doesn't even look like it's from the Super Nintendo era. Legend has it that Shigeru Miyamoto wasn't a big fan of the way the Donkey Kong series looked and wanted another approach at this type of graphical game and created this. What we get is a game that's really, really beautiful. The colors are bright, the artwork looks like it's a kid's drawing and it's supposed to, and the enemy sprites are very varied, and of course it even uses new technology and uses an FX chip in order to rotate sprites that can either jump off the background or rotate background some, like you see in this scene towards the end of the game. And of course there's also the morphing animation for Yoshi, which the FX chip is used for, to combine a whole bunch of sprites in order to get that nice smooth animation he has, transforming into all sorts of things. Overall, this game is beautiful, and I think it holds up as well to 2D games of today like Dust and Elysian Tale. This is a really great looking game, and I'm not knocking that. Sound and music wise, this game's a bit of a mixed bag. I'm not a real big fan of how the music sounds. I get it, they're trying to create a musical score that goes along with the background, so it kind of sounds like it's a kiddie preschooler type music for a lot of the game. I guess it's okay. Problem is that it loops a bit too much, especially when you consider some of the sizes of the stages that you encounter later on in the game, and it can get a little bit annoying. Worse is the baby Mario cry. That is the second most annoying sound I've heard in a video game. second only to Flame Hyanard off of Mega Man X7. That's how bad that sound is. Fortunately, you won't be hearing it too much because you can just grab Baby Mario to shut him up, and it's great encouragement for you to do that. You will rarely die from enemy attacks in this game because your sanity will depend on you rescuing Baby Mario from whatever happened to him. Woe be to the person who falls down a vertical shaft while trying to catch Baby Mario. You're going to be losing some of your sanity just listening to him yell. Ugh. Oh well, at least on a cool bit of trivia, Yoshi's Island has gotten a few cool hand-me-down tracks from The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Listen, the very opening world that you get into, the tutorial world, has the same soundtrack as some of the Dark World theme from A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Take a quick listen. Alright, let's talk about the gameplay in this game and why it's a bit of a mixed bag. Let's start off with the good. The controls, like in a typical Mario game in Yoshi's Island, are really good, and Yoshi has a few new moves that Mario doesn't. He can flutter in the air for a short distance, and he can also eat enemies and poop out eggs and throw them, which is a major mechanic in this game. Sometimes obstacles will have you aim your egg at different items to try to bounce off walls and to get stuff. So it's an interesting mechanic, the egg throwing. They also added in a mechanic where sometimes Yoshi will have to turn into a helicopter or other things in order to fly around or move around special areas and collect coins. And speaking about collecting stuff, in order to fully complete this game, if you want 100%, you have to score 100 points in every stage. For that, you will need to collect 30 stars, and these stars are basically added to the timer. Whenever you get hit, Mario will fall off your back and he'll start screaming like crazy, like I've already shown, and you have to get him back before that timer reaches 0. This won't happen very often. Most of my deaths came from pits, not from enemies. But anyways, if you want that 100% though, you have to have a full 30 seconds on that countdown timer, and that can be tricky to do. You'll also have to find 20 red coins in the stage, and these red coins for the most part will look like regular yellow ones, and then find the 5 flowers in the stage for 100 points. Collecting 100 points on every stage in every level of a world will unlock a few bonus stages that you can play if you want to. The game on the whole, though, is for the most part kind of easy. If all you're out to do is beat Bowser, expect this game to take about 7 or 8 hours and be relatively easy. That said, it's rather linear, and that's one of the disappointing aspects. Super Mario World was this game where you could create your own pathway through the stages and through the world. In Yoshi's Island, it's very linear. You pick a stage, the next one opens, you pick that one, the next one opens, and so forth. And that's the disappointing part. I mean, Super Mario World was this big exploration-heavy game. Yoshi Island does require a little bit of it, but only if you want to 100% it. So that's kind of the most disappointing aspect of the game. And then, of course, like I've mentioned before, one of the things that also kind of irritates me about this game, and more towards the end you'll encounter this, is that the stages are too damn long. They do feel like a slog towards the end of the game when you hit some of the really, really long stages that have 2 or 3 checkpoints in them, and it's like, never have I been more thankful to get to a goal post and just go to another stage than this one. And some of them do require you to solve puzzles in order to complete them, especially dungeons that have bosses will usually require you to find keys in order to get to them. The good news about these boss dungeons is that they end in a really fun boss fight. All the bosses in this game are fun. Some of them can be quite challenging, but they all have a gimmick that you have to find their weak point to and beat. And stage 3 bosses, which is one of the hardest to get, especially if you're out to get 100%, does have a cool weakness in which you can get him dead in one hit. Here, watch this. Yeah, one hit's all it takes to beat that guy, and that's kind of useful knowledge because he's one of the harder bosses in the game, especially if you're out to 100% the game. Now, a few more things I have to say about this game, just to let you know, because I'm going to be comparing some of these problems when I review its sequel, Yoshi's Island DS. But to 100% the game is hard, but it does give you items, including a handy magnifying glass that lets you see all secrets and where the red coins are. This is useful when you can get it. It's a fairly rare item, but once you start unlocking those bonus stages to where you can get that item, the game becomes a lot easier to try to 100%, and that is there. That said, some of the stages are cheap in the way they kind of up the challenge if you're out to 100%. There are sometimes obstacles that if you don't overcome the first time, you have to restart the stage in order to get either a coin or a flower if you want that 100%. And that's a little bit of a disappointment as well, especially like I said, these stages are 10, 15, even 20 minutes long, and they sometimes seem like they're grueling. Anyways, final recommendation for Yoshi's Island. If you like platformers, especially the Nintendo platformers, Yoshi's Island is still an enjoyable game. It's just not as good as the Super Mario Brothers series, especially if you kind of like your stages shorter and more breezy, because Yoshi's Island stages can seem to take forever to beat, and that does really slow this game down, unfortunately. I give it about a 3.5 out of 5. Is it worth checking out on the Virtual Console? Yeah, but the Virtual Console is the GBA game. I don't have the GBA game on a physical copy. I have it on my 3DS, which I can't capture footage of. But from what I played of it, the colors are sharper on the GBA version. However, the resolution is, of course, cut a little bit because it's on the Game Boy Advance. And, of course, there's screen cropping because it's on the Game Boy Advance and not on the Super Nintendo. Also, some of the special effects for the rotations and for the transformations are toned down a little bit. It's still a good-looking game. It still plays like the classic Super Nintendo Yoshi's Island, so I do recommend getting it for the Wii U Virtual Console, but only because it's the only version of Yoshi's Island there. If they ever put up the Super Nintendo version, folks, grab that one. It's the superior version, I do believe. Anyways, that is all for today. I'm Tommy the Keyblade Master. I'm Audi 5000. Chain, chomp, yomp.